we're going to explain how to refresh your pivot table data. This is crucial because pivot tables rely on external data sources, and that data changes. If your pivot table isn't up to date, your analysis is flawed. There are several ways to do this, depending on your spreadsheet software and how your data is connected. The manual refresh. This is the simplest method. Most spreadsheet programs, like Excel, Google Sheets, have a refresh button or option within the pivot table's context menu. Locate your pivot table. Right-click anywhere inside it. You'll usually see an option like Refresh or Refresh Data. Clicking this will fetch the latest data from your source. This is great for quick updates, but you might need to do it repeatedly if your data updates frequently. Automatic Refresh, Excel. Excel offers the ability to automate this process. Go to the Data tab. You should see a section related to connections or queries, depending on your Excel version. Find the option to manage existing connections or edit your data source. In the connection properties, look for settings related to refreshing. You can usually specify a refresh interval, e.g. every 5 minutes, every hour, daily. Excel will then automatically update your pivot table at the set interval, ensuring your analysis is always current. Remember that continuous automatic refreshes can consume processing power, especially with large data sets. 3. Automatic refresh, Google Sheets. Google Sheets handles data refresh slightly differently. If your pivot table is connected to a Google Sheet, changes made to the source sheet will often be reflected automatically in the pivot table. However, for external data sources, like databases or CSV files imported from your computer, you'll need to set up automatic refresh through the data connection settings. Click the data source associated with your pivot table, then look for options within the connected sheet properties. Similar to Excel, you can usually define refresh intervals. Keep in mind that Google Sheets might have limitations on how frequently it can automatically refresh external data. 4. Troubleshooting refresh issues. Sometimes refreshing your pivot table doesn't work as expected. Check your data source for issues. Verify the connection is still valid. Make sure the source file or database is accessible to your spreadsheet program. If your data source is a linked file, like an external Excel file or a database, ensure that the file is not corrupted or moved to a different location. Corrupted data source connections can prevent the refresh from working correctly. In some cases, you might have to reconnect the data source by creating a new pivot table entirely. Remember to always save your work after making changes to your pivot table or its data source connection settings. The methods for refreshing your pivot table might vary slightly depending on your specific software version and data connection type, but the general principles remain the same. By mastering these methods, you keep your pivot table analysis relevant and avoid using outdated information.